at it fresh and you haven't played the demo, because it's like boiling a frog. You get used to how it's different, how Ember is different from Firefall, and then you can't remember what the original's like anymore. So if you if you come back to that, then I think that would be good. And you could tell me if it's close or if it's better or if it's worse. All right, so I want to extend you the same offer and to come into the demo with me for an hour, and we'll do that. So you had so again, I came into the conversation before I knew what was happening. I just saw the flurry of stuff and Ronan responding. Can you tell me what your question was, Kingfisher, that and what your issue was that sort of sparked the whole thing? Okay, so you got some of it answered. So I'll give you airtime on this too. You were also concerned about me speaking about Ember on Twitter. Were you feeling like that was attracting too much heat? Is that what the concern was, or did you feel that it was out of place and should be on the official account? Okay, so you're saying, and I'm just going to read what you said. Okay, if you give me a second, so everyone can hear it as well. But your conversation with Soup has answered a few concerns, as we probably had similar mindsets. I think there's a good reason to post on both personal and official channels. Often personal can be used for things not often able to be said on official and can help detract or change narrative. So I understand things from that perspective, but for me, it's also in which the manner things are said. Okay, I'll let you continue. Yeah, the bike was cool. That was my one of my first 3D models when I was learning. I'm much better now. I mean, you can see just my ability to see who the texture. Learning that picked that up pretty quick. I think that's the best texture we've had for the Sifu so far. Yeah, that's a little bit of a pat on the shoulder for me. Yay! Sorry, I'm proud of it. Okay, I was on stream saying it's the first time I've done this, but I know the theory. The bike was my first. I also modeled the medium omni frame. because what happened was the artist who was working on it disappeared and ghosted suddenly, and that was after like working on it for 8 months. And I was like, oh, I guess I better finish this. And not knowing how to 3D model, it took me 6 months to build that sucker and get it into the build. I could build that much faster now. So, yay, you have a hard surface modeler on the team. Okay, let me read King's stuff. Which dips into what Soup was saying, really. It's nice to see it being spoken about, but the context of what's being said often paints an easy target on the project's back. And currently, the biggest gripe is the time taken to where we are currently with Ember. Okay. So, it, so having, you said that you learned a lot with Soup's response. Okay, and so and you said some of your questions was answered. So which ones do you still want answered of the two things you just posted? Which is the post where you said which dips into what Soup was really saying, painting a target on the project's back, and the last thing you said is if the current player model is something that's been worked on, where is it at now? Well, we'll get to milestones. I just want to make sure I answer your questions in a digestible format. So those are two questions you still have. The uh, your worry about the target being painted on the project's back, the time taken to get here. Let's do those two first. You want to talk about those two? Okay. So Kingfisher says, I don't really care for the target on its back enough to make it a concern, but it massively overshadows the good that could come from the project. Okay, let's stop there and let me talk about that. Sure you don't want to go on voice? If at any time you change your mind and you want to come on voice, just let us know, okay? Oh, okay. Um, all right. The target, and are you talking about my tweets about Ember or my political stances on Ember? I see. I hear you, Soup. I'll bundle that with Kingfisher's question. Okay. Um, well, I think you have to, as I told Soup, I feel that this is a vital issue to the world. And that's why I made the decision in March to jump back into politics. And that's how this all started with Ember and how we got our initial backers, is because I was loud about politics back then too. And then I went silent during the whole Twitter censorship era. And now the censorship is lifted. And I feel that we are at these are my personal beliefs. We were at a critical juncture. I need to say something, in my particular area is games. And so this is where I want to take a stand for what I believe in. Does it hurt the project? Yes. Does it help the project? Yes. I think it's two sides of a coin. And I think that Ember's visibility was super low before. And like I said, you can just compare the likes back then to the likes we get now. But at the same, King, if you can hold off on the messages so they don't scroll off screen, let me go one at a time. You'll have time, I promise. I'm going to be here. So you know, so let me scroll back up. Okay. Does it? So your question is, does it? That you feel that it massively that the tweeting I do massively overshadows the good that could come from the project. The reality is, I think the project would have gotten no visibility and no Kickstarter the way it was going. I think that it had a very low, what we call in marketing, Q factor. It wasn't something people knew about, and it's not something I wanted people to know about when I got into this. But it's something that has been recently attacked, right? So there's a lot out there, and you can see it in our Discord. You can see it on Twitter. I didn't bring Ember into this. Ember was brought into this by others. And I guess you could say, should I A, shut up about it and not talk about Ember and hope it all goes away? B, respond to every single thing and shoot it down and make sure that they have the facts on Ember? Or C, be fairly quiet about, but just retweet what's on the official channel in a positive light of the game? I think these are my three choices, right? If you see another choice, you can let me know. And I think that I'm leaning towards C after talking to Soup, and my initial thoughts about this and my initial plan was to just retweet the official Ember account. But I think what you have to understand is what I told Soup is that's not going to stop the haters. That's not going to stop people bashing on the game. And right now, we are rightfully taking our lumps, and I'm taking my lumps. And I really hope I'm absorbing them for Ronan. I agree with you. I think earlier I think you said Ronan shouldn't take the heat for this, or somebody said that. I don't know if it was you. I should take the heat for it. This is me. And this was my choice to speak out. And, I believe it's going to be a net benefit for the game. I think that it's very hard to stand out now. And my example for that is probably a comic creator known as Eric July, who does the Ripaverse. I don't know if you know who Eric July is, but he's also let's call it a cultural commentator, right? And nobody knew his stuff. And he had a YouTube following. And then when he did his Ripaverse comic Kickstarter, he like smashed records. And I was like, well, who is this guy? I've never seen it. And I looked at the comic and I was like, it's a pretty good comic, but it's not like, the next Frank Miller or the next McFarlane, right? The Spawn guy. I'm not a big comic guy. So if I get the name wrong, forgive me. And I said, he's totally changing everything. And then I looked into his YouTube channel and it was a lot of this sort of commentary. And so I was like, okay, Stan Lee. Not did I say Stan Winston? I'm very sorry. Stan Winston's the effects guy. And so I said, okay, if I get political, is this going to hurt the project? And I said, well, nobody knows about the project right now, and it's very hard to stand out. I said, I don't think I will hurt the project because I think if I take a political stance, we will gain a huge number of haters, but we will also gain a huge number of people who want to see what we can do. And I think, and I think that that is a successful model for Eric July and others. And I made a calculation. I said, should I speak out? And I decided to speak out. And I believe it is a net positive, and I believe it's going to be very difficult. Eric July today is still being attacked. I got to know him a little bit through the YouTuber circuit recently, and he just recently released new comic. I mean, he had people like he had to have someone arrested at a bar that was like harassing him or something, or harassing the staff. I can't remember what. He was having a party for his Rippaverse comic book. But he also runs probably the most successful indie comic empire right now, and the project's doing better than anything else, better than traditional comics right now. So it could go either way. So that's the addresses the target, but I think that because I believe we can deliver, because I believe we can do a good demo, that this is going to be a net positive. So maybe you and I disagree on that, but that's my stance on it. All right, so you have a response here. Kingfisher says, I will say I don't agree with how you carry yourself on Twitter all the time. Yeah, but I can respect someone who's willing to communicate in this manner. It's commendable. Well, thank you. Are you not concerned that the visibility you're engaging with that does sorry, are you not concerned that the visibility you're engaging with that does for sure put Ember into the limelight isn't what would make the project sustainable for the future because that target audience isn't a reflection of the greater gaming community and possible consumers? I would say that many of your followers wouldn't be fans or players of the project, that they're there to support your beliefs. Yeah, that's true. But not necessarily your bottom line once and if the project becomes obviously that completely subjective on my part. I would also say that the barrier for entry for a comic is much lower than a game. Okay, that's a fair point. I can't tell you the future, King. I just can tell you that I felt like I needed to do what I had to do. And I looked at it and I weighed the pros and cons. And I said, this is going to help Ember more than hurt it if we deliver. So that's probably where you and I disagree. Um, can you be controversial and successful? I don't know. You said comics are a low bar. I think rockets and electric cars are a pretty high bar. And I'm no Elon Musk, but you know, it's possible, right? There's a chance, that meme. So you're saying there's a chance. I'm saying there's a chance, and I think it's a pretty good one. Okay. So King, I'm going to get to the second part of your question here is I'm scrolling up again. My biggest gripe is the time taken to get where you are currently with Ember. So you arrived in what, March, April on to Ember of this year? Relatively new. Okay. So you probably don't know the whole history of Ember and every chief chat we've done since then. We've done so many chief chats, hundreds of chief chats. Uh, I try to be very transparent with the community, and um, but at the same time, I don't think it should be a trial either. um, I think that it's been a long time, and I think that that is uh, completely unintentional and something that I apologize for. I think we owe the community. I no, it's not on anyone else. It's me. I owe the community a deep apology for how long this has taken. It was not supposed to be this way. We were supposed to do milestone based funding. We were supposed to have small, bite sized incremental steps that we could achieve. But when we got to step three, which is the M3 milestone, I kind of lost my way. I was really worried about crowdfunding falling apart. Nobody was funding games. And I knew we had to do an art refresh. And I knew we really didn't have the money to do an art refresh of that scale, at the quality, right? Um, and so if you don't have the money, what do you trade off on? Time. To give you an example, the Dreadnought frame. Do you remember the Dreadnought in Firefall? It's one of the most popular frames, and they deleted it. God damn it! They took it. They blew it all up. Um, I remember being on that team, and I was calculating how long it was taking, and we pound that we had a full game. Battle frames were already in the game, but to put in a new battle frame because we were thinking about introducing new ones was taking up to 3 months. And I sat down and I calculated how many people worked on it and how much time they put into it on the art, and it was mostly on the art side of things. And it was $500,000 that we spent on the Dreadnought just to get a new battle frame into the game. That's 500,000, 3 months, and a team of about 12 people. 12 people worked on it, if memory serves. Might be a little more. Maybe it was 15. Um, so to put that into scale, 3 months, $500,000. When I said let's do an art refresh, and we were using part-time contractors, and we had one and a half modelers, and we had you know, an animator for like 20% of their time in the evenings. I think that we ended up eating up too much time. Um, and when you don't have the money to go hire out, 12 developers to bang out a battle frame in 3 months, what ends up is time. And I think there's ways to be more efficient. But here's the good news. The good news is that we have all the new concepts for the frames. We have the white boxes for the new frames, thanks to Heinz Snow. We have, we have the core logic of the game. And I think we can be efficient. And I know enough modeling now where I can step in and model. Like I said, I want to start with the light frame to evoke those firefall feelings that people have been waiting so long for and build it out. And we built out all this art, and it took a really long time, and we spent the money on it. And we built up these assets, new character models, new Tsihu. We did part of Krotos. We did all of Krotos, and then we did detailed upper half for a movie. Um, you know, we we concepted out the vehicles, the light frames, everything else, and now it's time to put that into the game. And that's and then after we started on this whole art refresh, and by the way, there wasn't money for this art refresh. We took out loans to do it. Okay. And we're still paying back those loans. So if you want to know where the majority of revenue goes now, it's a couple things. We have 10% platform fees, we've got server fees, we've got software fees, and we have it costs money to do the monthly skin, and then we're paying back these short-term loans which fall off this year. These are one-year term loans at very low interest rates, thankfully. And but that's where it clears up, and then we can start hiring people again. But in the meantime, you got me, and you have Harry, and you have M, and there's other people looking to volunteer too. I won't name names. They're here right now. Uh, but what happened was a little over 2 years ago, my family was hit with a bunch of medical stuff, both kids. And it was something that we thought would be solved. It started with a visit to the emergency room. And then that led to like a whole medical mystery, like House, an episode of House. And I always thought it would be solved the next week, the next month, but it wasn't. And, should I have said something then? Yeah, but I was an optimist. I thought we would be done and my family would be fine and we could move on. But it's not the case. But luckily, everyone's better now. Uh, One does have, like I said, a medical condition they have to deal with for their life, but it's manageable. And I don't like to bring my kids into this, but I have to explain it, right? So we lost 2 years to that, and no one else could do any work while I was handling all this because I'm the only guy with a plan in my head. And maybe I should have realized sooner and said, "Here's what we need to be done," and parceled it out and everything else. But it didn't happen, and I'm sorry. But this is the chance to do better right now. This is the chance to turn it around. We turned off all backer packs back in November. It's been almost a year now. And we're working on getting all the art in and polishing up the demo so that it's in a presentable state in Q1 and to start getting back on regular builds even before then. So that that is my only explanation for the time. It's a time manpower trade off, and what here's what we could have done. No one's saying you can make a game for $100,000 or even $500,000 or even $1 million. If you go back, you weren't here in the beginning, Fish, but we said from the beginning, it's like it's disingenuous for Kickstarters to say, "Yeah, we're just going to raise $1 million and then we're going to deliver you an entire MMO." It doesn't work that way, and people, I think, figured that out. So we tried to innovate in the space and said, let's break it up into milestones and have these small, achievable chunks. I should have done a milestone for the art refresh. I should have said we're taking it one model at a time, saying, okay, we're going to do the female, okay, we're going to do the male, and had clear objective steps for all of that, and to build up from there. And that has to that keeps the accountability going, and that keeps the scope from creeping, and that keeps the time manageable. Now, are we going to be able to deliver a game, in the same amount of time that it takes a AAA studio to do it? Which is, by the way, now they're up to 6 years. Concord was 8. That's ridiculous. They have huge amounts of money. I think we're much more efficient than that, or we can be. For a reason we haven't been so far. But I think we now know enough about how to get things done that we can do this. The part we're missing is the funding. We're not taking any funding, right? And I don't feel like good about taking funding in terms of backer packs. We are doing. I'm not canceling people's subs, okay? Who want to back the project, who've been subbing since the beginning. That's a decision they can make for themselves. And you know, um, and we're not really getting new subs. I can tell you subs are pretty much flat. Okay, they're not growing. We're not out there pounding the pavement for subscriptions or anything. But I'm not going to go out there like some people are suggesting and yank these subscriptions out from under backers who want to see the project succeed. Our enemies would love nothing better, and we do have enemies. I'm not being. This is not hyperbole. Okay, we have enemies. They would love to cancel every sub out there and shut the project down. That's their ultimate goal, right? Like they really want to see this pancake. I don't want to see it pancake. But I also don't want to take, any more backer packs. I don't want to take any more. I don't want to drive for subscribers until we start delivering on the art refresh stuff. Until we start putting and delivering regular builds to you guys again, which we're slowly starting to do. The Tihu stuff was great. Then a bunch of Ember stuff exploded, and that was, as you know, just a shit fest. And it's going to get worse before it gets better, but I'm going to promise you that I'm not going to get distracted by that. I'm not going to. I am doing one video with a YouTuber. I won't say who is critical of the project, and we're going to take some heat from that. But I'm going to bring him into the demo, and I'm going to play the game, and I'm going to tell him like it is, like just like I am now with you guys. So, and then the video will come out, and you can expect more heat from that, and maybe some other YouTuber will pick up on it. Let it go. Let it go. I'm not asking you to put money into the project. I'm just saying don't let that affect you because you don't want it to affect me. You want me to deliver on this demo in Q1 and the incremental builds leading up to it that we're supposed to be doing. So if you don't want it to let it get to me, don't let it get to you. And then when the demo comes out, Q1 of next year, that's when you get to judge again. The whole goal of the milestone system is you get to judge us every milestone. So after we get this demo out, here's what I'm going to do. People are saying, how are we going to change going forward? How are we going to prevent this from happening in the future? I believe in the milestone system. It's a good system of accountability. It works in AAA games when you have a publisher and a developer. You don't get paid if you don't deliver. They don't pay you for the next milestone. But let's break that into smaller chunks. And I've said that before. I've said this on when I mentioned the difficulties before. I said I made a mistake and we should have had smaller incremental milestones. So let's go ahead and go back to that. After we get the art in, after we've got the game looking good, after we have the public taking a look at it, let's break this up. And this game is not going to cost, I'm not going to sell you moonbeams and sunshine saying, yeah, we can deliver a whole game for $500,000. And we can't, right? It's going to take a couple million. And we're going to break that up into chunks. And hopefully we can hire enough people to accelerate that process. We try to contain our scope, right? We say a lot of things that could be cool in the future. People have a lot of ideas, but if you go back to the vision book, that's what keeps us on track. That's what we're supposed to deliver. And I've tried to keep it to that. We strayed a little bit from it. We're going to get back to it. And let's do that. So that's how I want to fix it going forwards. Um, King, since so much text has scrolled by and I haven't read all of it since I've been talking, can you repost any other points that you brought up that started this whole thing, and I can address that. And I'm going to take a sip of my soda here because my voice is getting a little hoarse. Hmm. Okay, so Kingfisher says you've stated publicly how hard it is to get funding. Do you mean private or public funding? I think I've said both. Crowdfunding kind of fell apart. And right now, I can tell you in the industry, people are not funding games like publishers. They're being very, very conservative with their cash. And your second question is, do you think you'll have concerns funding that in the future for the overall scope of the project? Actually, I'm pretty positive about that from the community. And if we break it into steps, where each step is not it's not $1 million step, but it's $100,000 step or a $200,000 step, I think that's very achievable. I think that if you space it out over time like that, now the trade off is time. You do it this way, it takes a little longer. But I don't think it's going to be like a super duper long time. It's not going to be another 8 years. That's certainly not the goal. And I think we supplement that. When the funding climate changes in games, and when the pendulum swings politically and people want more games, look, people are already looking at waifu games and how well they sell, and even mecha games with Armored Core 6 and going, I guess there's money in here afterwards. When the economy turns around, in a year, in 2 years, I think that that's a good time that we could go out and seek additional funding, but not right now. I think right now we break it into smaller chunks. We take $1 million and we divide it up into 100K tranches or something like that. And we have tight, achievable goals for each of that don't take forever to deliver on. That's where I'd like to be. Does that answer your question, Kingfisher? Okay. So, Kingfisher, is there any other question that I missed or something you'd like me to address or any parting words before I move on to our third contestant, Aaron? Well, you've been very kind too, Kingfisher. Thank you. And DM me, and we'll set up that 1 hour play session, and I'll show you what we got, and you tell me if we got the firefall movement or not. It's different in some ways. You have a lot more jet fuel. Maybe it's like progression four, tier four jets is where we're at. Tier four gliding, tier four jets. You won't start that way. We'll start you a little tamer. All right. Thank you, Kingfisher. That was very gracious of you. Thank you for your time to stick around and wait for your turn so I could talk to you. Aaron, do you have a microphone? You're up. This is our last contestant for today. Okay, Aaron. Is he cleared for voice? Can we put Aaron on?
All right. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Aaron.
Okay.
Same thing. Why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself? If you were a Firefall player, or how you found out about Ember, and when you joined our Discord, and if you're a backer.
So I first heard about Ember via the Ember Twitter. I believe it was some pictures just about the mechs, and then I kind of just started following the game a little bit on Twitter, via the Ember Twitter, and then I came here maybe about 3, 4 years ago. Don't remember exactly when. Discord probably says. I did not play Firefall. It wasn't in my sort of scope of games at the time, but I've always enjoyed horde shooters. Stuff like COD Zombies, Helldivers, yada yada. And so I got really interested in this type of game. Um, uh, when I did join the Discord, I did back the game. I believe it was $40 at the time, and
Thank
I
you.
did about a 11 to 12 month subscription around the same time. But then I kind of stopped once kind of news sort of died out.
Okay, and when was that? When did you stop?
Like probably like maybe a year after I joined the Discord.
Okay.
Um,
Did you participate in any chief chats leading up to that?
some, but they were, I kind of stopped interacting with the Discord a little bit once I stopped subscribing to it.
So,
Um,
what about Ember attracted you in the
um,
beginning?
well, the sort of PvE concept of it, the horde shooter ness of it. And also I like mechs. Mechs are nice.
Do
And
you
the sort
like
of customization that was coming with it, the whole waifu thing, it's nice, but it's not the main thing.
so for mechs, are you a heavy mech type or a lighter, faster mech, or do you like walking cities?
Um, I've been sometimes it just kind of really depends on the feel of the mech, because you can have like a light mech but feel completely different from other light mechs. I guess it all just kind of really depends on the style. And stuff like Armored Core, I did a lot of tank builds, so probably more
Okay.
heavy.
Yeah, Armored Core is actually pretty fast when you're airborne, but it's much slower on the ground. Is the tank still a meta, or did they nerf that?
Um, I believe it might still be for maybe like specific weapons or to counter specific higher tier things. But I haven't kept up with it within the last year.
Yeah, okay, but you played 6, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that was one.
I wanna finish that game. I started it, but I didn't finish it. Did you like 6, or did you prefer the earlier ones?
I mean, I enjoyed 6. I always have my preferred favorite. I preferred the previous Armored Core a bit, but yeah, 6. It still hit the ball for me.
Cool. Yeah, I like 6 because the graphics are better. I tried playing I what is it, 3 or 4 on my PS Vita, and, it was really hard to get into it on the tiny screen and with the low poly graphics. But you like the mech customization.
Yes, that was also one of the things that pulled me into Ember and Armored Core.
We don't really have mech customization that's as visual as that, right?
Oh yeah, like I knew that going in. They're different games for different reasons.
It's more like tinkering on the engine inside your mech
Hmm.
and your power-ups than actual, like, swapping out for treads or anything like that. Although I'm open to that, not now, but but further down the line, I think, I know that that's very popular in AC. Alright, so, you joined us in Discord you came back recently to Discord. You drifted
Uh,
off, right?
yes. But I still stay in the server, but it's been recent that I've been checking stuff out, just kind of see how it's been going.
Okay, and when did you come back, let's say
Maybe,
more energetically to the server?
okay, more energetically, maybe a little bit less than a month ago.
Okay. And
To kind of
what brought you back then? What reengaged you?
I just kind of saw it on my I saw it on my Discord servers. I'm like, so whatever happened to this game? And then I did some did some reading and about all the stuff and all the things going on Twitter.
Okay.
Um,
And was that a curiosity moment or an upset moment when you came back?
well, I guess I was upset more so. I'm not talking about anything. The Twitter I didn't really care about. It was more so just the lack of updates. The sort of it kind of felt the same as when I left a couple like 2 years ago, 2 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the disappointing thing of it. And um, and I guess my main issue is because I think it was either today or yesterday. You were talking about how you posted the video of one of the models.
Yes.
And I guess, it kind of just when I saw it, it hit me the wrong way. Like, when I saw the ping, I was like, oh, is there like an update for the game? When there wasn't. It was just kind of you saying, oh, I posted something that was already shown before to sort of to show it to the people on Twitter, which is like, did we really need a ping for that about your personal Twitter?
I'm sorry. I actually, did I post that tweet and ping everyone on it?
You did ping everybody. I am.
I think
Um.
I don't remember that. I'll take your
Uh,
word for it. And that
yeah.
was
It
and I
probably was
would
today. Earlier today.
I'll say now in hindsight that was probably a bad move. That, that if I had posted my oh, Aaron's you just posted it? Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Uh oh, I didn't post the video though.
Well, no,
I
not the
did.
video, but you said talking about it.
Yes, I talked about it. Okay. Um, okay, I'm looking at this. Let me read this so everyone can see it. Hello, everyone. We are getting flooded by obvious trolls after I posted the excellent Felly Gatestrider video last night. This means we are winning. They hate that she looks good. They even tried to ruin our video capture session. Just keep in mind that not all people are being genuine here. Okay, in hindsight, I don't think I should have pinged everyone for that. Let me give you the context. So the context is that, and I said this before, so I know you've heard it, but for the benefit of the people just joining, that Friday we wanted to do some video game capture to sort of like say this is where, yes, this is Ember, but and I wanted to contrast it, but this is also Ember, and I wanted to post the stuff that we've had in queue, the new concept art for the frames, the obviously the Felly, obviously the bunny, things like this. I want to do this, and I still want to do this video. It's like here's where we are, and it's not good enough, and here's where we we were working towards. We had a pause, but now we're putting this in. So that was the intent. And when we did that capture, there was a guy out there who's been very critical of the project who hopped into the build and started running around naked and deliberately running in front of my camera all the time to interrupt the capture footage. And then the next day, they started posting every possible bad picture they could of the game, right? Like there's a collapsed jaw. They exited the Omni frame, and there's a collapsed jaw on the male, and the human female has her arms like really distended wide and in this weird awkward pose that's basically not meant to be there. And they were going around bashing the game, and I was like, and I had a reaction to that, right? And like Soup said, I wanted my STFU moment, so I posted the Felly Gatestrider video, and that got people really upset. And I'm not talking about you or Discord. I'm talking before I pinged Discord. That instantly got people who were upset. People who were circulating those screenshots and boosting them really wanted that to be the narrative. And so when I posted the Felly Gatestrider out there, they really wanted to say that that was fake. Just like the first time I posted it, I think back in March or April. And we did get a lot of people flooding into the Discord. And, and then I sent out that ping and probably made it worse. I'll give that to Soup and you. It's like, hey, if Twitter is separate, let's keep it separate. So, yeah, I think that was a bad move. But go on. You were saying from there?
Well, I guess I kind of did want to talk about how, so I'm in this current conversation with everybody. You did mention that the demo itself is also pretty old. and people were posting stuff about it, and that made you angry. But I just also found it weird that every
Not
time.
angry.
Well,
Everyone jumps to the clickbait thing to say, "See someone rage about this." It's not rage. It's more like passion to
uh,
defend the project.
well, yeah, but like I also find it weird, in sort of response to someone posting about the demo that's pretty old, is to post content that's also old, that's around the same year. Like when I first came into the server and everything, that model was announced.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I guess, I guess overall, what kind of, seeing that, I came to this server for, to the game, I supported the game, and now I'm just getting about all these things that's happening on Twitter, and I guess I feel like when you said that you were winning and you're pinged to everybody, it didn't really feel like winning. It's like at the same time, it was just posting, posting older stuff in retaliation to older content that was also out.
Look, it's older stuff. Well, first of all, yeah, I acknowledge that pinging Discord not a good idea. But this is stuff that they're not showing everything that we've done, right? And the person who's posting screenshots from this could have so, yes, it is older, but it's stuff that needs to be brought into the game to bring. Remember, we're doing this whole visual art pass on it that we paused on, a little over 2 years ago. That never made it into the game, even though it's built. And that needs to happen. And so I thought it was valid to say, you're not showing the whole picture. Our characters actually look better than the buggy screenshots that you're showing. And I believe that that was uh, a valid response. It doesn't matter to me that it's from the same time. It should have been included. And to not include it is what's called cherry picking, right? It's like, okay, you've got two things from the same time. Which one did you decide to show? And I wanted to respond to that. So that's why I posted the Felligate Strider. And yes, it is old. We did a lot of this art stuff already, and it has to make its way into the game now as play in a playable state. So that's exactly what we're trying to do here. So maybe winning is the wrong word, but we will win. Maybe future tense. But I think we've got a lot of good stuff coming. And I think I brought my Twitter acerbic style into Discord in that post, which did nobody any favors. It certainly upset you. It's upset some people. Upset Soup to a degree. But maybe you don't think that I should have posted anything at all.
Well, I feel like especially uh, the whole rule about not bringing up your Twitter when after the whole ping, just like you talked about your Twitter in the Discord, but we shouldn't talk about it. And
I think I
that's
think where the yeah, I think where the confusion ran in and on my part and everyone's part is that because I kept my Twitter completely Ember free until that point, right? So it was an obvious rule. It's like, okay, don't bring Twitter into here. But then suddenly we were talking about Ember on my Twitter, and then I cross posted to our Discord. Now, what's the rule, right? And we didn't have a good rule, because now the situation changed. So I think now was a mistake. And like I said, the option I lean towards now is posting official stuff on the Ember uh, Twitter account, but you know, not sitting there arguing or trying to respond to people, not trying to one up them. I think that, and then having me retweet that. But as I retweet it, you're still going to get the hate. You understand that part, right?
yeah, I do understand that part.
Okay.
Um,
How does that proposal sound to you?
that is something I would prefer. Like, like you said, you shouldn't have the Ember, Twitter, or the thing you're gonna sort of advertise or post about Ember be the one to fight. Like you personally on your thing, you can fight about it, you can talk about it, but if I want news, I'm going to the Ember Twitter, the Ember Discord.
Okay.
That's
So you actually don't have a dog in the race as far as whether I'm sitting there arguing with people about Ember on my personal Twitter. You just would like to see the official
you
stuff.
know
Is
yeah,
that
I want to see progress. And what happens on your personal thing, you can argue with people about it, but progress is being made. I know that I'm not just in sort of some time sunk, fallacy with the money I spent on the game. You
okay?
know,
So so it sounds like your point is don't cross post to Twitter, don't cross post to Discord about Twitter if there's a rule about Twitter. And two, let's see some more progress on the game publicly on the official Ember site and in our Discord.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be the basic of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What am I leaving out? What other
Um,
question did you have that, we've talked a lot, you've heard a lot of people talk. I want to give you your time too.
well, I guess no, it was mainly just that. I just worded it weirdly. Um, but yeah, I guess you know, um, I don't. I want to see updates about the game, and I feel like we should, it shouldn't be riled up by Twitter for us to get to hear stuff about the game, especially if it's, in the end, it's also just arguing on Twitter, and it isn't the sort of progress that we want to hear,
I did
progress about
I
the game.
I did post in Discord a while back that I wasn't going to engage. Do you remember that? That I didn't want
Yeah,
it to
fresh and you
detract
haven't
from,
played the demo.
you know, I didn't want to spend all day arguing on Twitter about Ember. And I posted that to Discord, and unfortunately, some people pick that up on Twitter as a sort of gotcha. Oh, look, he's unhinged. He doesn't want to respond. He's not going to, he's not going to respond to anything. So either way I go, I'm going to get slammed for it. If I talk about Ember, I get slammed for it. If I don't talk about Ember, I get slammed for it. But I'm leaning towards not talking about Ember. That was my original goal, right? And I posted that. If you scroll back through my messages, that was I think that was also an everyone ping at the time. I believe. I'm not sure. So
Uh,
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
yeah. So I think that's the plan. It's like I don't talk about Twitter in Discord, and I'm not going to sit there and bat everything down. But I think you have to understand that there's going to be a lot of heat. Obviously, some of it well deserved. You know, and it's going to get. And I want to let the community know it's going to get worse before it gets better. Like I said, I'm doing something with a YouTuber who's not going to say nice things about the project, right? Um, but I wanted to give them a chance to hop into the game with me, and they actually reached out, and so I was like, okay, cool, let's talk about it. But I'll do less of that. That'll be the last video I do.
Um,
Um,
uh, now bring it up. I did kind of want to ask. You mentioned that sort of any kind of publicity is good publicity. Uh, I've kind of feel iffy, sort of about that statement, especially when it comes to sort of engaging in these sort of culture wars, because a lot of the times, once the culture war is over, nothing is, everybody leaves. Uh, very few people even, stay. Have you, what sort of feasible boosts have you seen from this sort of engagement that you've been doing on Twitter?
well, I can only go by the likes. When I post the Ember stuff, we're getting 2K plus likes, which is sort of like maximum traction for me for a standard post. and it's the same amount of likes as say my culture, some of my cultural posts. So the visibility is there. And I agree that, hey, people are there on Twitter because of my politics. And that doesn't make them all gamers. But you have to remember that my politics is also about gaming only. I don't go into the elections very much. I did during the assassination thing. But I don't really talk about politics. And all I can say is that in the beginning, it I was very much the same now back then as when Ember started, and then there was a period where I didn't say anything at all, and I would post Ember stuff here and there. The beginning, we got a lot of interest because of that. We got a lot of interest when we introduced waifus, and we got a lot of interest I would say even recently, although I've tweeted so little about Ember, I went through some of the replies today and people are like, "Whoa, you're making a game?" I still get that. And then I get people saying, "Hey, I want to back it." Now, words are not action, right? And I would say that no, it doesn't translate one to one. If I have 199,000 followers on Twitter like I do now, it doesn't mean we get 199,000 people interested in Ember. But I think it's safe to say that we get more interest in Ember than when I had, half the amount of followers who were less game focused because initially I was very much on the politics side of things. And uh, I can tell you that only recently the latter half of followers are almost 100% gamers. So I think there's more crossover and more potential there than there was before. And I think there's more haters too. And I think both of those, you know, everyone likes to see a comeback story. And so if we can deliver, and the whole intent is to finish that character arc, that you will see an upsurge then. I think everyone is skeptical. Everyone wants to see the build, right? Everyone says, does this look good? Is this something I want to play? That has to happen. But I think you will see an upside much greater than before, despite all the negativity right now. Now, we could shit the bed and not deliver a demo and not put the new art in and everything else. And then you can say, I told you so, but that's because I think primarily because of the game being bad more than anything else. I think if we deliver something that's good and that looks good too, because let's face it, looks are kind of big right now. Then I think that you will see an upswell at that point. But before we get to that point, you're going to see these attacks increase as there's certain factors happening. One I mentioned is the elections are happening. The other thing that's happening out there is a bunch of these games, these big AAA games, are failing. And a lot of culture war people like myself feel that there's a specific reason for that. And, the people who are opposed to that or who don't believe that that's the case feel like they're on the defensive. And so I've never seen the volume of attacks that I have until recently. And so all I can say is it's not going to look very good for a couple of months. You're going to see these attacks increase. But my job is to ignore those. Remember, we talked about earlier. What am I going to do? I'm going to preach what I said. I'm not going to respond anymore. I'm going to let the Amber channel do its thing. Let's focus on, we're close on the Tsihu. Let's get the Tsihu back in there. I'm going to do the Swarmer next. Let's texture the Swarmer and get that guy moving around. Let's do a standalone build of those that look pretty so that, people aren't picking on our collapsed jaws or distended arms. Let's get the bunny in there. Let's get the felly in there. Let's do all of that. And there's one other G suit that I think would be better because I hate our hair. I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I want to get it out there. I don't like the hair on our models. The stylized plastic looking hair. I don't think we do it very well. I want to see if we can get a better hair in there. But since that's going to take time, there is a G suit that we have that's modeled and needs to be rigged to the body, and it has a helmet that's really cool. Let's get that in the game, and then we can see a character, but we don't have to show the hair. and we can go from there. All these things that we can do, right, leading up, that should be where the focus is, right? And if we do that and we come out with, our plan of a Q1 good demo, and then we start with you know, and, once we start delivering builds again, leading up to that demo, maybe we open packs again and get more funding so we can get contractors back in. Uh, and then after the demo, we either go for the Kickstarter or we host our own, because I think a lot of people will attack the Kickstarter and try to get us banned from it. But we sort of planned from that from the beginning, which is why we built our own platform. And so we're ready to do that. And that actually happened with another project that got kicked off of Kickstarter, but ended up doing very well off of Kickstarter after that. So we have a plan B if that happens. And I think that's where you'll see the resurgence when we in Q1, where we have that demo and all the new art and everything else. That's when you will see, you know, first they hate you, and the people who are supporting you are skeptical of the game, but then you start delivering and that changes. And then pretty soon you go from, well, this is a lousy game, to like, oh, this game's kind of interesting, to, hey, I really should pay attention to this game. That's the arc you want, and I think that is the goal and achievable. That was a little long-winded. I'm sorry. Did I answer your question properly?
Yeah, yeah. It was, you did answer it. Like I said, my main gripe was sort of the whole, bringing in Twitter, then not discussing the Twitter. Like, even though this was probably some of the more, recent stuff we heard about Ember from you. So, of course people were going to talk about it in the Discord, and, just felt kind of weird being told not to
Okay.
talk about it. That
So,
was also the thing.
all right. So,
But
new rule, Ronan. I don't talk about Twitter in Discord, even if it's Ember related.
Yeah, I kind of knew you were going to say that, um, and so I'm gonna put Grums on blast here as a joke, kind of. So what happens is every year or so we allow politics in here. It goes bad, and Grums says, "Oh yeah, that's why we don't do this." Uh, so so it's
Is
kind
it?
of like this is the pattern, and it's like there's a few people who suggest that we should just let all of the Twitter political blah 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 go on in here, and I understand where they're coming from. What they don't understand is I would need to triple my staff to remotely deal with that. There was a time we've had politics in here, and the amount of effort and people it takes to moderate that is staggering. So when people say things like, "Well, you don't want to deal with it," you don't understand. I don't have the staff. So it is a whole different thing. I have worked in this industry for decades. I have worked for politicians. I've worked for games. I've worked for major tech companies. I'm telling you, there's a reason that we don't do it here, and it is for the best. So, I mean, Grums is a passionate man. The part of the reason he and I get along is because he speaks what he actually thinks, and I love that. So, there's going to be moments where he's going to be like, "Let's do this," and I'm going to go, "That's going to go bad," and then he says, "Ronan, that went bad." I'm like, "Yep," and then we fix it. It's not a big deal. Like, you know what I mean? And there's been other
Damn
things
you
where,
for being right.
right? Like, I'll see a post, I'm like, you know. Yeah, I do need a new mic. I know. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. So that's the new rule then.
yeah.
And when you see me break it, just, I don't know, delete my post and give a warning.
Yeah, okay. You said that. Everybody heard that.
All right. So, Aaron, thank you for your time. I'm not going to offer to hop in the build with you unless you want, because you already have access to the build. If you want, I'm available.
yeah, I played it. I played it recently. It probably it wouldn't really be necessary, since most of the stuff was sort of about, sort of was about what was going on in the Discord and everything.
Okay. Well, the invitation's open, and you know, I'd like to do more game sessions, even if we're not capturing anything. I thought it was fun. I don't know if you were there Friday, but it sort of reminded us all of the promise of the game because it's fun with multiple players, even with a thumper that wouldn't recall. So, yeah, come join us next time. And thank you again. And yeah, I think I have some good takeaways. So I'm gonna end it pretty shortly here. I did want to address no soup for you's question, and I won't name the guy, but I'll address anyone who is genuinely got questions about this project. And the YouTuber I'm working with is a big YouTuber, and and I have no problem hopping in with them, showing them the game. The person you're citing, when they are sitting there and interrupting our capture because they know we're going to do it and trying to destroy our gameplay footage, that is not a genuine person with genuine concerns. All right. And when you say that you are concerned about the game and the community, and then you go in and the community is trying to do something about it, and you actively try to destroy and disrupt it, I'm not going to give that person the time of day. No, sorry. But this other YouTuber who's not going to say positive things about us, but who has genuine questions like you all did today, and I've already pre-answered pretty much everything with you guys, so you heard it here first. That I am going to entertain, and I'm going to jump in, but it's going to be my last one. I'm not going to spend the remainder of this year, putting out PR fires. How do you best put out a PR fire? I think you'd start delivering stuff that looks interesting that get people excited, and I think that's where the focus should be. So this is my last video. I still do obviously my culture stuff every other Saturday on Flashcast and things like that, but I don't mention that. But those aren't like these big Ember videos. Fair enough.
Grumps, there was one more person who asked if they could speak quickly. I believe they will be quick if you want to give them a shot.
Sure.
Okay, one moment. Okay, little mystery. Here's your moment.
Oh, I thought you had a little mystery for me. You actually mean Mr. Little Mystery.
Yes.
I've no mic to use. It is currently 2:37 a.m. for me and not wanting to wake people up. Okay, fair enough. But I will try to be concise. All right. Well, Mystery, before you do that, can you give a little intro of yourself? Just like everybody else. Did you play Firefall? What attracted you to Ember? When did you join the community? Are you a backer? That type of thing.
Also, side note, as of last month, the end of last month, I've been here with you for 8 years, Crumbs.
Did you have to remind me?
That's how long you've heard this terrible laugh. That's right.
Ronan, thank you so very, very much. I know all the crap you've had to deal with, especially recently. I know everything that you've been going through, and I just want to say thank you so much for volunteering to do this and sticking by me. And I really appreciate it.
That's what I do.
Okay, Little Mystery says, "Hello, Mark and chat. I am a bit of a lurker here, and the earlier heated discussions made me comment somewhat heated and out of turn. Yeah, I think we were all heated. I joined back in October of 2021. A Discord friend sent me react positively to Ember art and invited me here. Was it the waifu art? Be honest." He goes on to say, "I sadly never got to experience Firefall myself and haven't had a chance to try any of the Ember demos, but I've watched numerous videos showcasing both here and on and off the last years." Yeah. It absolutely was the waifu art with the vertical text. It was great. Waifu was a huge hit for us. And now it's the meta. Now I bet you every AAA game is looking at Wukong, which has waifus later on in Act 2 and Act 3. They're monster waifus though, which is, some people's flavor. But Stellar Blade and everything else and you're going to see the return of waifus in a big way, I predict, in the next 2 years. But go on. That was a good introduction, and so you're not a backer yet. So okay, that's fine. No biggie there. So go ahead with your question, Little Mystery. Sure, shoot. So Little Mystery says, now I've gotten a chance to speak. I'm kind of drawing a blank, but I would like to share some views somewhat related to earlier discussions on Twitter issues and sort of how the overall games industry state is at the moment. All right, but I got to keep it brief. I jumped on for the big trio here, and this is time I could be in Substance Painter, but
Yeah,
go on.
don't make a liar out of me, little mystery.
Or dinner. Food would be good. Sometimes I forget to eat. I love the spoilers gif. The doctor's wife, my favorite. Yeah, it sucks, but they're just gonna clip the audio and clip whatever's in chat and post it all over Twitter. I won't respond. You guys have made that clear. I agree. It's a good idea. Let's do the game. Zeke, I don't think they're interested in your nose hair, unfortunately. Take your time, mystery. I'm going to be around for your question, so don't feel rushed. But please don't make it an 8-part question. Maybe 2 or 3 salient points, and I'm going to be briefer on these. Neo, I love that expression of yours. Not the nose hairs, just the regular hair. No soup. I mean, just like it's like half the people are fine with stylized hair and half want to see. I'm just worried that if I put realistic hair on our stylized face, that it's not going to work either. So I'm gonna here's what I'll do. I'll just take like a store-bought hair asset and just like plump it on top like a Muppet, and then I'll see what I got and see if that's worth pursuing. But otherwise, I think we'll go with helmets for now until we figure that out. And it's a really cool G. You guys have seen the concept with the G suit and the helmet, right? We actually modeled it. It needs to be skinned though. That means you bind the weights to the body model. Oh, there we go. Little mystery. Let me read your question and thoughts. For sure, sorry, just wanted to relay and hopefully reinforce stuff. I have to say that I would like to reinforce that it is good to hear you talking passionately about the game. I wouldn't say that you having political views is a bad thing, and don't feel bad for having them. But what I would like to hopefully reinforce, and what I think the overall Ember community, casual like me or otherwise, is that people are concerned not just about the game, but for you yourself. Twitter is a toxic hellscape, and constantly engaging it, even for things that you are passionate and some that I would agree with you on, detracts from the game's development itself and even hurts you yourself. I'm not a long-time member, but I'm no spring chicken either. 40 is around the corner, but I think some degree of mindfulness with some of the things that you get worked up about and harassed online would do everything wonders. You know, it really does play a mental toll, but like I said, I've kind of learned to step back from it. And if you notice, I've tweeted a lot less this past 7 days or so. I think I'm still going to cover the news, but I'm trying. I will. I'll stay out of the drama. All right. That's the most toxic stuff. I'll stay out of the drama. One, and two, I'm not going to read the replies. There's a lot of YouTubers who came to the same conclusion. They just don't read their comments, and I think that does wonders. So here's what I do. I think that my tweeting schedule is going to be like, hey, I'll write my tweets in the morning, and then as news breaks during the day, I'll write a series of tweets at the end of the day, and in between is Ember time, and afterwards is family time. Does that sound okay? And I won't read the replies, and I won't get sucked into the drama. I wish Twitter was never invented. I wish social media was never invented.
When I started my marketing career, it was in radio.
You haven't been community manager that long,
Well, no.
or
uh,
rather, director of community and marketing.
yeah, no, this is long before that. This these were the olden days. I remember when social media started becoming more of a thing, and some of my colleagues were convinced that it wouldn't go very far. Yeah.
If we get good stylized hair, then I'll do that. Okay. Well, little mystery is give us your wrap up, little mystery. We'll wait for that. And Ronan, was that the last one for today?
Yes, sir. That's the last one.
Okay. Take your time, Mystery. We'll hang out. All right, Mystery says, I said reinforce too much. What I mean by that, though, is letting some of the crap infesting the games industry right now not affect you as much as it does. I can say that you've definitely had an impact on some of those things. I've heard numerous YouTubers name drop you as a source or a point about some of the game news stuff like the DEI madness and other things. You've definitely made an impact there, and I think that's something you can take away positively from that because these things need addressing. But they actively are now. And with things you said before, with money spread and personal issues, it wouldn't hurt taking a step back from that and doing a no man's sky sort of thing and double down once things are in place to show people who are critical or haters with action instead of words. Very well said, Mystery. I think everyone here shares that sentiment. Okay. Like I said, I will do my tweet schedule. I'm not going to be on it all the time. I'll do my morning tweets and I'll do my evening follow up tweets and everything in between, straight on Ember, and afterwards, family time. And we don't cross the streams. Ronan will issue me warnings and delete my stuff. So if you see my post suddenly vanish, it's 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 just Ronan doing his job. Great gif, Ronan. All right, guys, thank you very much for your time. I'm glad we could have this conversation. I have 2 play sessions scheduled here and an open invitation, and I will see you guys Friday, I guess, right? And I think Friday I'll show you working on the swarmer. Let's texture that sucker and get that done. How about that? Let's get something done. All right, guys. Take care. Knee biters for the win. Tomorrow? Do we have something scheduled for tomorrow? Because
No,
that's
don't worry about that, Grumps. We'll talk about that
okay.
later.
Oh, right. That well, no, that's yeah. Okay, I got it. All right. Take care, everybody. Okay. Bye now.